Intro. For decades, an invitation to one of Sean "Diddy" Combs' legendary parties was considered a golden ticket into the heart of Hollywood's elite social circles. These events weren't just gatherings, they were cultural spectacles that mixed celebrity glamour, fashion, nightlife, and mystery. But today, those same parties are being re-evaluated under a very different light as disturbing allegations and federal charges continue to surface. In this video, we break down the world of Diddy's infamous white parties, the shadowy freak-offs, the controversies surrounding illegal activity, and the accusations that have reshaped his legacy. The white parties, a cultural phenomenon. Starting in the late 1990s, Diddy's white parties quickly became some of the most influential events in entertainment. Everything, from the clothing to the decor, had to be pure white, creating a scene that symbolized luxury, purity, and status. These parties were held in the Hamptons, Beverly Hills, and other high-society hotspots. They ran from day into the early morning hours and were known not just as parties but also as major networking opportunities for people in music, film, modeling, and fashion. Celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio, Jay-Z, Beyoncé, Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, Sarah Jessica Parker, and even Donald Trump were among the many A-listers who appeared over the years. The extravagance and shock factor. No expense was ever spared at these gatherings. Partygoers witnessed models with angel wings, topless performers, dancers inside giant inflatable bubbles, and celebrity guests acting out wild stunts, like Ashton Kutcher famously swinging across the pool like Tarzan in 2009. One of the most bizarre moments occurred in 2004 when Diddy brought out an original copy of the Declaration of Independence as part of the show. Scenes like these helped build the myth that anything could happen at a Diddy party, and often, anything did. For his future kingdom in 1991, a charity basketball event Diddy promoted turned deadly. Overcrowding led to a stampede. 9 people died. Dozens were injured. The tragedy haunted him for years through civil suits. But as always, he survived it, reshaping the narrative, reinventing himself, and emerging even bigger. Bad Boy Records was the moment everything clicked. He built stars like the notorious B.I.G., Maze, Faith Evans, 112, Total, and others. His era defined a generation. But success brought enemies, jealousy, and danger. Hip-hop became a battlefield, and Diddy stood at the center. The rivalry between Bad Boy and Death Row turned hip-hop into a war zone. Threats, insults, confrontations, all culminating in the murders of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. For decades, rumors swirled about Diddy's involvement. He denied them every time. But the questions never fully disappeared. Biggie wasn't just his artist, he was like a brother. His murder devastated Diddy but also became the event that changed his public image forever. Some accused him of exploiting Biggie's death for fame. Others said he was genuinely broken. The truth remains complicated. In 1999, Diddy and J-Lo were caught in a New York nightclub shooting that injured 3 people. Guns, fleeing cars, and a high-profile trial followed. After weeks, Diddy was acquitted. The streets called him Teflon Puff. Nothing stuck to him. His myth grew stronger. Sean John clothing, Ciroc vodka, Revolt TV, fragrances, restaurants, Diddy became a billionaire icon. But with each new venture, the allegations grew too: violence, manipulation, threats, controlling relationships, shady business deals, and the infamous freak-off rumors that insiders whispered about for years. Diddy's legendary white parties became symbols of extravagance: celebrities, models, hidden rooms, VIP zones, and the whispered belief that what happened there never left. For many, these parties were glamorous. For others, they were evidence of a darker lifestyle fueled by desire and power. From 2007 to 2018, Cassie and Diddy were together, a decade of luxury, fame, secrecy, and, according to her complaint, abuse. Their age difference, power imbalance, and the industry dynamics created a relationship many now see as the clearest window into Diddy's alleged darker side. In 2022, when Diddy received his Lifetime Achievement Award, the cameras caught him shouting out Cassie, years after their breakup. To the world, it seemed harmless. To Cassie, it reopened wounds. And according to those close to her, it was the moment she decided, enough. Cassie's lawsuit dropped like a bomb, detailing rape, trafficking, violence, manipulation, and a decade of terror. The allegations were graphic, specific, and backed by dates, witnesses, and patterns. It was the first time the world saw the full scope of what the rumors had been hinting at for years. Within 24 hours, Diddy settled for $30 million. The speed stunned the public. His team said it was to avoid distraction. Critics said it was guilt. Either way, the settlement opened the floodgates. More accusers came forward. And federal agents intensified their investigation. For decades, whispers followed Diddy, from the mysterious parties to industry fear, from his explosive temper to the claims of blackmail, from artists who left Bad Boy broke to stories of people disappearing from his circle. None were ever proven, but they shaped his legend. The trial became the cultural event of the decade. Every detail, every testimony, every accusation was dissected online. The world watched as his empire, image, and legacy faced destruction. The verdict didn't end the conversation, it ignited it. Dark accusations began to surface. As years passed, disturbing allegations began emerging from individuals who worked at or participated in the parties. One exotic dancer, Audria English, claimed that she was hired for multiple white parties in the 2000s and pressured into wearing a black dress that supposedly signaled her availability for intimate encounters. She alleges she was provided substances, manipulated, and used as what she described as a sexual pawn. Another artist, Jay Blaze, recalled seeing heavily intoxicated men mistreat models at the 2009 event, with no staff stepping in. These accounts have prompted people to re-examine the environment and culture surrounding the white parties, especially in light of Diddy's more recent legal troubles. The secret, freak OFFS, the after party. Beyond the white parties existed something even more secretive, Diddy's alleged freak-offs. According to prosecutors, these were elaborately organized, multi-day sexual performance events featuring adult workers, carefully arranged lighting, substances, and recorded footage. These gatherings reportedly took place once the main party guests, especially the A-listers, had left. Only inner circle members, hand-selected participants, and hired workers were allowed to remain. Allegedly, these freak-offs were heavily controlled environments where everything from the performers to the recordings to the supplies, including large amounts of baby oil, lubricants, alcohol, drugs, linens, and even fluids, were coordinated by Diddy's staff. What investigators claim to have found. When federal agents raided Diddy's Los Angeles and Miami homes, they reportedly uncovered narcotics, videos, electronic data, and over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricants, all believed to be connected to the freak-offs. Prosecutors say the digital evidence, photos, For 8 weeks, strangers fought for seats, hoping to witness history. Some wanted justice. Some wanted gossip. And some simply craved the spectacle of a megastar unraveling in real time, a theme that would echo throughout the documentary-style narrative of his entire life. The prosecution painted Diddy as a predator, a man who built an empire not just of music, but fear. They described a mastermind who used intimidation, manipulation, and wealth to control his lovers and staff. They said his freak-off parties weren't mutual pleasure but organized exploitation. They showed the jury a version of Diddy the world never saw, the version hidden behind tinted windows and private jets. This wasn't the mogul dancing in shiny suits. This was a man accused of creating a world where no one could say no. The defense argued the accusers were lying, motivated by his fame, money, and vulnerability. They insisted the government had turned consensual adult relationships into criminal charges. They said investigators were digging into his personal life unfairly, turning private sins into federal crimes. To them, the case was overreach, exaggeration, and revenge. It was a compelling strategy, one that worked in the end. Cassie wasn't just another ex, she was the central figure in the story. She met him as a young artist signed to his label, nervous, starstruck, unaware of the years of control, manipulation, and abuse she would later accuse him of. Their relationship lasted a decade and ended with bruises, lawsuits, and a leaked hotel video that shocked the world. The 2016 footage of Diddy viciously assaulting her in a hallway shattered the illusion of their glamorous romance. It became the moment nothing could be denied anymore. When the hotel footage surfaced, it broke the internet in minutes. The world watched in horror as Diddy punched, kicked, and dragged Cassie. People who once idolized him began questioning everything. That video wasn't gossip. It wasn't a rumor. Financial manipulation, threats, and the mysterious way trouble seemed to orbit him without ever sticking. At least not then. When the charges finally came, they hit like a nuclear blast. Racketeering conspiracy. Sex trafficking by force. Interstate prostitution. Allegations of a hidden world where power silenced dissent and desire turned predatory. For 8 weeks, the courtroom became a battleground of reputation, influence, and trauma. Prosecutors argued Diddy ran a criminal enterprise solely to protect his brand and fuel his sexual appetites. The defense countered with claims of opportunistic accusers chasing fame and payouts. The stakes weren't just legal, they were personal, cultural, historic. Then came the twist the world didn't expect. On racketeering and sex trafficking charges, Sean Combs was found not guilty. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Headlines exploded across the internet. Fans saw triumph. Critics saw failure of justice. For some, he was a survivor who slayed a fire-breathing dragon. For others, he was a powerful man escaping accountability once again. Though convicted on lesser charges, the verdict was framed by his team as the victory of all victories. But the debate didn't end, it intensified. While his family celebrated outside the courthouse, social media erupted with fury. People who'd followed the case closely, especially those who'd seen the leaked hotel footage of him beating Cassie, questioned how a man with such a track record of allegations could walk free on the most serious counts. The trial had become global entertainment, a mixture of morbid curiosity, celebrity fascination, and the uncomfortable thrill of watching a powerful man's life put under a microscope. And now, the ending divided the world. Influencers, journalists, superfans, and critics crowded the courthouse every day. Everyone wanted a glimpse, not just of the trial, but of the myth of Diddy being dismantled piece by piece. The documentary closes on the haunting question. Is this the downfall of a powerful manipulator, or the destruction of a misunderstood icon? Was the truth always in front of us, disguised by fame, wealth, and influence? And will we ever know the full story behind the walls of Diddy's empire? Fade out with slow music and the final message. The story continues, everybody put your glasses up in the air. Let's take a toast to Sean Combs, the name that electrified party floors and reshaped hip-hop culture. From the outside, he was a spark plug of charm, ego, and unstoppable ambition. A man who hungered not just for success, but domination. Yet beneath the swagger, beneath the billionaire glow and the "Call Me Love" rebrand, a darker shadow was already growing. The cheers and flashing lights he basked in would one day become evidence, testimony, and chilling whispers of a life lived on the razor's edge, a life the world would eventually dissect in court. In the early days, Diddy moved like a man possessed. His confidence wasn't performance, it was prophecy. "I'm about to go on a serious run," he declared, and he meant it. He built a magnetic image, the mogul who worked harder, partied louder, and dreamed bigger than anyone else in the room. But the same engine that powered his rise, the need for control, the appetite for excess, the refusal to ever back down, would later become the core of what people would claim was a criminal empire hiding behind chart-topping hits. His public persona was a masterpiece of branding, powerful, brilliant, charismatic, a man who could turn any room into a kingdom and himself into its ruler. Millions saw him as the American dream in motion. But that dazzling exterior, polished through decades of media training, platinum records, million-dollar parties, and carefully staged appearances, concealed a sinister realm. Rumors swirled for years, some whispered, some shouted, about violence, controlling behavior, freak-off parties. His mentorship. People who worked with him often described two sides, the charming visionary and the unpredictable tyrant. Employees spoke of loyalty demands and sudden temper moments behind the scenes. Throughout the 2000s and 2010s, Diddy faced multiple lawsuits, civil accusations ranging from workplace misconduct to assault. Many were settled quietly, feeding conspiracy theories. During the nightclub shooting with J-Lo, Diddy was charged with weapons possession and bribery. He was acquitted, but the scandal stained his public image permanently. Online voices began discussing rumors of RICO-level behavior, trafficking, exploitation, and organized systems, none of it confirmed. But the whispers became louder as more lawsuits filed. Cassie's lawsuit detailed shocking allegations, abuse, pressure, forced activities, and an environment of control. The case settled immediately, which the public interpreted as an attempt to silence a larger storm. Within months, multiple new lawsuits from different individuals surfaced, echoing similar claims: coercion, misconduct, and exploitation within Diddy's sphere. Federal agencies raided Diddy's properties as part of a trafficking and misconduct investigation. Images of agents entering his mansions went viral, marking the first major turning point from rumor to reality. Celebrities who once praised him distanced themselves. Old interviews resurfaced. Clips of people describing unsettling experiences went viral. His empire, once untouchable, began to crumble. Diddy denied all allegations, calling them lies and extortion attempts. His lawyers argued that people were jumping on a bandwagon. The public remained divided, skeptics versus believers. Brand partnerships dissolved. Business deals paused. Even his long-standing reputation as a cultural icon couldn't protect him from the avalanche of scrutiny. Bad Boy Records' legacy became overshadowed by scandal. His annual white parties became a celebrity ritual, surreal displays of wealth, champagne oceans, and after-hours events that few outsiders ever saw. These parties later became central to accusations of misconduct. Diddy built brands across fashion, liquor, TV, and tech: Sean John, Ciroc, Revolt, Bad Boy, and more. He wasn't just a rapper, he became a billionaire entrepreneur and a cultural gatekeeper. The reality TV era showed Diddy as a demanding perfectionist. Marches for cheesecake, grueling rehearsals, all reinforcing his reputation as a ruthless mastermind who expected absolute loyalty. Diddy's dating history spans major public figures: Kim Porter, Jennifer Lopez, Cassie Ventura, and more. His love life became tabloid fuel, luxurious, dramatic, and often complicated. Kim Porter was the mother of 3 of his children and one of the great loves of his life. Her passing in 2018 devastated him. After her death, the public revisited interviews where she hinted at knowing things, fueling further speculation their early 2000s relationship was glamorous but turbulent. The infamous nightclub shooting in 1999, where Diddy was charged but acquitted, became a defining scandal. Lopez distanced herself shortly afterward. Cassie, who dated Diddy for over a decade, later sued him alleging abuse, control, and exploitation. The lawsuit was settled in 24 hours, an event that opened the floodgates for additional allegations. Diddy often presented himself as a devoted father, constantly posting family moments. However, critics say his public, family man, persona clashed with the dark allegations later exposed. For years, celebrities hinted at strange vibes around Diddy, cryptic comments, cryptic interviews, and insinuations about the nature of his parties. Nothing concrete surfaced publicly, but the rumors stayed alive. Diddy's relationships with artists like Maze, Loon, and others became controversial. Some accused him of bad contracts or exploitation, others praised. His mother worked multiple jobs to keep the family afloat, and Diddy later admitted that watching her struggle built his win at any cost mentality. Diddy attended Howard University, not for academics, but as a staging ground for hustle. He threw some of the biggest college parties in D.C., showing his business instincts early. His event planning success put him on the radar of the music industry that he talked his way into an internship at Uptown Records. His work ethic was legendary, sleeping in the office, managing multiple artists, and helping shape the new Jack Swing era. His ambition, however, was too big for Uptown. After disputes with executives, he was fired, a moment that would turn into his greatest opportunity. In 1993, Combs launched Bad Boy Records. His first signed artist? A young Brooklyn rapper named the Notorious B.I.G. The label immediately exploded, combining street grit with glossy production. Biggie became a cultural titan under Diddy's vision. Their partnership redefined East Coast hip-hop, elegance mixed with danger. Diddy's ability to market artists like a luxury brand revolutionized rap. The rivalry between Bad Boy and Death Row Records escalated, with Diddy constantly denying involvement in violence. Biggie's 1997 murder left him devastated, and surrounded by conspiracy theories that have persisted for decades. After Biggie's death, Diddy rebranded himself as Puff Daddy and released I'll Be Missing You, which became a global tribute anthem. From there, he chased stardom himself, dropping hit albums, winning Grammys, and becoming a mainstream celebrity beyond hip-hop. Diddy's parties became legendary, extravagant, excessive, and often invite-only. Hollywood elites, musicians, athletes, models, and politicians circulated in his orbit. Rumors around what really happened at those parties grew louder: secrecy, phones confiscated, rules, and whispered stories that fed into his later legal troubles. Text messages and travel records paint a disturbing picture of how these events were organized. According to the indictment, some victims were filmed without consent, and Diddy allegedly used these recordings as leverage and blackmail. Authorities say this was not a one-man operation. Assistants, employees, and even hotel staff were allegedly involved in arranging travel, booking rooms, and supplying materials. Diddy now faces accusations tied to trafficking, assault, forced labor, witness tampering, bribery, blackmail, and racketeering. Federal prosecutors argue that this was a multi-year, organized operation that involved numerous victims and several enablers. Multiple witnesses, including victims, staff members, and performers, are expected to testify. While Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all charges, experts say the evidence collected is extensive and digital. If convicted, he faces 15 years to life in prison. Diddy's defense. Diddy's legal team maintains that every encounter was consensual and that the allegations are exaggerated or fabricated. They claim the parties, both the public white parties and the private freak-offs, were simply adult gatherings, and that the prosecution is mischaracterizing them. Despite this, Diddy is currently being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, one of New York's most notorious facilities, as the case continues. The screen fades in with flashing cameras, red carpets, and the echo of bass-heavy club music. The narrator sets the tone, Sean Combs, a man who built an empire from raw ambition and pure charisma. A mogul, a hitmaker, a cultural architect, and now, a name surrounded by lawsuits, accusations, and unraveling mysteries. This is the story of how it all began, how it all grew, and how it all fell apart. Sean John Combs was born in Harlem in 1969, raised by a single mother after his father, Melvin Combs, was murdered. The trauma, poverty, and danger around him shaped him with fierce determination. Today, Diddy stands at a crossroads. To some, he is an innocent man who survived a witch hunt. To others, he is a powerful abuser who escaped accountability. The truth is buried somewhere between myth and evidence, fame and fear, power and pain. One thing is certain, the story of Diddy is not just about music, money, or crime. It's about the dark side of celebrity, and the cost of a life lived above the rules. As the story of Sean Diddy Combs continues to unfold, it paints a portrait of one of the most complex figures in modern entertainment, a man who built an empire from ambition, talent, and relentless drive, yet whose legacy now hangs between triumph and scandal. His rise reshaped hip-hop, his business mind redefined celebrity entrepreneurship, and his influence crafted the blueprint for an entire generation of artists. But behind the flashing lights and iconic parties lies a darker layer of allegations, controversies, and unanswered questions that challenge everything he once stood for. In the end, Diddy's life remains a study in contrast, genius and chaos, power and destruction, impact and downfall, leaving the world watching, questioning, and trying to understand who the real Sean Combs truly is. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the extraordinary and explosive life of Sean "Diddy" Combs. His story is far from finished, and as new information continues to surface, the conversation will only grow louder. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more detailed celebrity investigations, documentaries, and story analyses, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments, we read everything. This is International Broadcast, signing off. Stay tuned, stay curious, and as always, we bring the truth to light. It was proof, brutal, undeniable proof of violence. It triggered federal investigations, emboldened victims, and became the catalyst for everything that followed. Federal agents began collecting stories, documents, evidence, and testimony. Former employees described mysterious bags of cash, secret rooms, endless parties, and people who disappeared from Diddy's circle whenever things went wrong. Some described being forced to act as security during freak-offs. Others claimed they saw guns, drugs, and stacks of baby oil bottles. The once untouchable mogul now faced the full weight of the federal government. To many, Diddy was the showman, the anthem maker, the party animal, the entrepreneur with a golden touch. But behind closed doors, people described a man consumed by rage, jealousy, control, and paranoia. He was the guy who could charm an entire room, then explode into violence with the person closest to him hours later. The contrast became the central theme of his life story, the dream and the nightmare in one man. Born in Harlem, raised in Mount Vernon, Diddy grew up with tragedy embedded in his DNA. His father, Melvin Combs, a street hustler, was murdered when Diddy was just 3. The wound shaped him. He grew up tough, ambitious, always told to retaliate harder than he was hit. That survival instinct would push him to build an empire, and, according to some, to destroy everything in his path. Before fame, Diddy was already hustling at Howard University, throwing parties, promoting events, earning money, and building his persona. He wasn't a student, he was a star in training. And he knew it. He dropped out early because he saw a bigger stage waiting for him. That decision would change hip-hop forever. At Uptown Records, he was a phenom, a young genius with an uncanny ability to create hits. But he also created chaos, pushing artists, executives, and staff to their limits. He was eventually fired, but not before leaving his mark and building the blueprint.